Hey everybody, welcome to the Bayou Ballers podcast. We are here. It's NBA Draft Day, June 26, 2024. I am Tay, your host. Tay Visual, they call me. My guy Trey over there. How you feeling today? And are you a little bit nervous for your Spurs?
Man, I'm feeling good. And look, man, whenever it's the Brian Wright show, it's always nerve wracking. You don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know if he's gonna trade the picks. I don't know if we're gonna use both picks in the first round. I don't know if we're gonna draft potential busts. Like I have
Mhm.
no idea what the Spurs are doing. And look, after being a fan for 20 some odd years, you kind of get used to it. So it is what it
Mhm.
is. Just
Facts.
deal with whoever
Now,
they bring on.
okay, now we got a lot of trade rumors swirling. We know a lot of things are going to be going on before the draft. Y'all, the draft is in about it's 7 central time for me, so it's about
Mhm.
3.5 hours that it's coming up on. So we're gonna have this out before that. But as y'all know what happened last night, I have something for you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
We have a trade, y'all, a big trade going down in New York City. Both teams from New York, Brooklyn Nets send over Mikal Bridges, and they receive back Bojan Bogdanovic in 5 first-round picks,
Mhm.
four unprotected, and a Bucks top 4 protected pick, and they also get a swap as well. But don't worry, the Nets get a second round pick. I mean, the Knicks get a second round pick back too to throw on top of Mikal Bridges. But what are your first thoughts on this trade? Essentially, 5 first-round picks, bro, and a
Well,
swap.
was crazy. The trade was announced maybe about 35 minutes after I dropped an episode talking about how boring the NBA offseason had been up to this
Right.
point. So not only the Knicks kind of making a splash move, but they're doing it with the crosstown rivals and the Brooklyn Nets, which
Mm,
I think I saw a report that said this was the first time they had engaged in a trade since
I know.
1983.
I
So
know. A long
that's
time.
that's over 40 years that
Opposite.
they haven't engaged in trade
Oppositions.
talks, bro. But I like it. I like it for both teams, honestly. And I'll start with the Nets. I think they were in desperate need of a rebuild, and
Hmm.
they really didn't control their own future.
Hmm.
I think the James Harden trade had really hurt them a bit when they had got him from the Rockets,
Hmm.
and even kind of getting KD over and things like that. They didn't get a bunch for Kyrie Irving. They were really just trying to ship him out. So it was kind of good for them to, you know, self-evaluate and say, "Hey,
Hmm.
y'all, we not a championship team. It's time to rebuild. Cooper Flag coming out next year. We need to start getting things in order to do that." But
Hmm.
for the Knicks, I think it's good in the sense of what they were missing was probably another elite perimeter defender and
Hmm.
somebody else that could create their own shot. It was really Jalen Brunson or
Hmm.
bust, Julius Randle being injured. And so having another guy that can put the ball on the floor, shoots well from three, and again is going to be an elite defender to pair with Josh Hart. You may be keeping OG and
Yep.
Anunoby, I think is how you pronounce it. So
Ananobi.
yeah, Anunoby. So I think it's a good look for them. I think
Hmm.
you almost made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. You fell short mainly due to injury. Don't just be satisfied with, oh well, hey, if this
If he
person
wasn't
is healthy,
injured,
we
yep.
can make it, right? It's like, nah, let's try to make a splash move. And I think they got the Villanova connection. We saw
Hmm.
how good that's been for them this year. So now you got, well, I guess it's 4 guys from the Villanova Wildcat
Yep.
championship teams on their
That's
roster now.
crazy. That's
And
real crazy.
you can't beat. I mean, we always talk about chemistry, right? And I don't think you can beat that type of chemistry. Guys that have known each other since they were teenagers, and now having a chance to play at the highest level of basketball. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Man," like I was talking to somebody today, like, "Man, you get 5 picks for somebody that's probably a third option." I'm like, "Well, in today's NBA, especially when you have, I think going into that trade, they had 14 or 15 first round picks over the next 7 years. So giving up 5 isn't a big deal, especially when you get a player that you really like, really wanted to play for you.
Hmm.
You have chemistry with some of your star players on your team, and he's a guy that can help you compete in the East. I'd probably scratch my head if this was, I guess, for a Western Conference team, because I don't think it would have moved the needle as much. But for an
Hmm.
Eastern Conference team like the New York Knicks, they're right in the thick of the playoff race. I think it does wonders for him. And while it looks like they gave up a king's ransom, that's kind of the price now. We saw what the Minnesota Timberwolves gave up for Rudy Gobert. And guess what? They found themselves in the Western Conference Finals. So we laughed at
Wait,
it
did you
then,
think
but
that was an overpay? That
when
was
they did it with
tremendously an
Rudy, I thought
overpay.
it was an overpay. Because I was trying to figure out what was going to, how him and Karl Anthony Towns were going to,
Uh-huh.
coexist. But they proved me
Luckily,
wrong. They
Carl
were
could
able,
shoot.
right, and they were able to coexist. Cat
Hmm.
probably leaned a little bit too much into the
Hmm.
shooting, so they got to
Hmm.
figure that out how to stagger their lineups. But
All right.
they're number one defensive team in the league. Make it to the Western Conference Finals, a lot of momentum. And now we look at that trade and say, maybe they didn't pay as much as we thought at the time when you consider all the things they've been able to do. And I think the Knicks are probably thinking the same thing, and that Mikal Bridges could be that for them. But what
Heard.
about you when you first heard that news drop, dog?
I like the move for the Nets definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we didn't touch on was them making a move to get their 2 picks back for the next 2 seasons from the Rockets. And the Rockets
Mm-hmm.
over the Suns next few drafts. A little side note, I'm thinking the Rockets are gonna try to make another run at Kevin Durant. As we
Okay.
said, they were very fond of him, but the Suns say they're not trading him at the moment. They're gonna try to run it back. But I'm thinking around the trade deadline, since the Rockets control their picks, we're gonna get another Atlanta Spurs type, Nets type. Give me my
Mm,
pick back, deal. So I think that was a good play by the Rockets to
yeah.
give the Nets their picks back and take over the Suns pick. But back to the Mikal Bridges deal. When I saw it 5 picks, I thought I'm like, you guys waited this long to go in on the Mikal, and a lot of people are justifying it by kind of what you said with the Villanova chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a little talk on Twitter about the OG move, and I'm keep seeing a lot of people saying they still intend to bring OG back. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, how would that lineup work? Will Mikal move to the 2? Which he
Mm-hmm.
could be a 2. He's very agile. He can guard 1 through 3, and maybe some undersized 4s as well. But I'm thinking what that lineup would be. In OG wanted to test free agency. I don't know if it was because of money or because of
Mm-hmm.
role, but with another wing on the team, his role will diminish a little bit even more. It'll be Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Brunson. I'm sorry, Jalen Brunson. You have Dante DiVincenzo. You have Josh Hart. You have Randall. You have the big guys, Mitchell. Even though they're not getting touches, but it's just another guy added that's down the line that a lot of people might believe Mikal is a little bit better than OG. They're head
Mm-hmm.
and head, but Mikal he's more healthy. So, and that Villanova connection is there. So we'll see how that goes. But I thought it was an overall. I thought the Nets won the trade because, like we
Mm-hmm.
said, they gained their picks. They got their future back. They was in no man's land. They couldn't tank because they didn't own their picks, and it wasn't good enough to win. Not even make the playoff this year. So I think they did the right thing. Josiah made a good move, one of his only good moves over these past few years after the between the Kyrie and Kevin Durant situation. So in the
Yeah.
Knicks, I think they can make a run in the conference final, but I think they really handicapped themselves for a big star unless they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna flip one of those guys, OG or Mikal, when say if Giannis comes available or is
Mm-hmm.
Embiid available, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think they gave away too much, but they're thinking win right now. They're thinking hey, without injuries, one step away. We could have been Mikal and OG. If they sign OG back, they can guard Brown, Tatum. We got Brunson. We got
Mm-hmm.
DiVincenzo and Hart to guard White, Drew Holiday. I think they matching up for the Celtics. So,
Yeah.
and that's what you need to do right now.
And keep in mind, they were able to still keep their 2 picks tonight. So they have two
Mhm.
first round
Yep,
picks tonight, and
24 and
those were
25, I
included.
believe, back to
Yep.
back.
So, let's say a
They
guy
might
like
not be
Isaiah
done.
Hartenstein gets overpaid in free agency, they can go get some of these top centers in the draft to maybe replace
Mhm.
him, keep a Mitchell Robinson, who I think when he got injured really affected their
Yeah, he was in
defense
and
and their
out
team.
kind of the whole
So,
year. Mhm.
there's a lot of things they could do. A lot
Yeah,
they
The
have to
Knicks
work
have a
with.
lot of things that's open to them today. And hey, the deal's not done. The deal's not
Mhm.
done till the new calendar year come over.
It's
So
true.
a third team could get added, and hey, they might trade their draft picks tonight. But
Mhm.
moving on to another trade that we had, uh, a non-complicated one compared to this one. A straight up trade: Alex
Yeah.
Caruso for Josh Giddey, Oklahoma
Yeah.
City and Chicago. And a lot of people thinking, what the hell is Chicago doing? And they could have got way more for Caruso during the trade deadline. They was
Mhm.
I've heard they was demanding 2 first-round picks for
Yeah, 2,
Alex
3,
Caruso.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, like what are we doing? It's got to the point where role players are commanding first-round picks, and then they just get traded for nothing
Mhm.
at the end of the day. So it's a straight up trade. The way I looked at this with Josh Giddey is Chicago doesn't believe Lonzo will be
Healthy.
anywhere ready to play
Yeah.
or be effective if he is ready to play. So Lonzo's been out for effectively about 2 years now,
Mhm.
and he's still not fully healthy in the offseason. I think like a month or two ago, he said he was about 70%. But he has his podcast that he talks about it. He's working and he has a new meniscus
Yeah.
from
They
somebody else,
donated.
something that was
Yeah.
donated. So that's pretty crazy. I never heard of nothing like that before. But I watched a video of a doctor talking about it, about Lonzo injury, and that was pretty interesting. But what's your thoughts on this? The straight up Caruso. I think it really helps the Thunder. They needed another perimeter guy.
Yeah.
He's gonna fit perfect next to Shea and
Mhm.
Jalen Williams. They got Kassan Wallace. He's pesty defender. And that's something they didn't have on a team last year. Him
Yeah.
replacing Josh Giddey, he shoots it better than Josh. He doesn't play make as well as Josh, but
Mhm.
he's a real good defender, can guard 1 through 3. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I really love it for OKC. I think it kind of, keeps them at least kind of at the top of the Western Conference, and that
Hmm.
you traded a guy that, has some offensive liabilities, especially from a shooting standpoint.
Hmm.
Josh Giddey is a great playmaker, but when it's crunch time, you need the ball in SGA's hands. If you can't spread the floor or be a secondary playmaker, it's going to be hard. And then to make matters worse, you're not doing well defensively. And
Hmm.
so getting one of the best perimeter defenders in the league is going to help. It's going to help Dort a whole lot because,
Hmm.
I mean, he doesn't have to take the
Oh,
number
how
one
you let me
matchup
forget
every
about
time.
Dort, man?
Right.
And
Like,
Dort can guard the bigger guys now.
right. So he can, they can kind of pick and choose,
Hmm.
who takes who. And, Caruso's ability to be able to spread the floor, be kind of a connector guy, I think that's going to work well for
Hmm.
SGA too. And I was kind of, dumbfounded when heard that Chicago didn't even get a pick back,
Hmm.
knowing, last year, like they was playing hard to get. Like I think the
Right.
Lakers offered, if I'm not mistaken, they offered Rui and maybe a first rounder and another pick and
I think
Chicago
it. I
turned them
think it
down.
was. I think it was Gabe because the
But
salaries matched with them too. I think it was Gabe
yeah,
Vincent, but I'm not sure.
it was something like that, and they had gotten some significant offers.
You know,
Reports
it's
said
a
they were
Lakers
being
tax
offered
though.
some top 10 picks in this
Hmm.
year's draft that they declined. But I think when it came down to it, I think they kind of know where they're going as an organization. Maybe wanted to give Caruso a chance to win because, look, you're probably getting to that point where he's going to say, hey, I will either want to be a winner or you got to pay me a whole lot of money to be on a losing franchise.
And he's
Um,
eligible for $78 million deal, 4 years,
extension.
$78 million extension. Sort of like the
Right.
Grayson Allen one.
Right. And so when you got Kobe coming up, you're trying to figure out what your draft is going to look like. You're trying to figure out what you're doing with DeMar
Zach
DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Like it's so many moving parts for them.
Vucevic.
Yeah. So it made sense. I just think they could have gotten something out of it. I mean, Oklahoma City, like they have so many draft picks. I think they have 15 first round picks. Like you
Yeah,
couldn't
they
get
got like
one back,
17 of it.
you know?
I think you know what I think the Bulls did. I think they basically looked at Josh Giddey as one of those things. I think he's
Hmm.
gonna probably basically play next to Kobe because Kobe's more of a scoring guard,
Right.
and he had a breakout season last year. And I think they're going. I don't know. Depends on what they do with Zach. Zach
Mhm.
market is not that good right now because of the contract. So I don't
Hmm.
know how they're gonna play all three of them.
Yeah.
Even though, and if they sign DeRozan been playing power
Yeah.
forward for that team. So I don't know if they're gonna run Kobe, Zach, Giddy, DeRozan, and Vooch out there, but
Mhm.
I don't know what
And
the
there
Bulls
are
been doing. The
rumors
Bulls
that
been they've
Yeah, there
been
are rumors that there might be a sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan going somewhere. And so you
okay.
might have, to your point, you might have Josh Giddey, maybe keeping Levine at least to the trade deadline and try to get his market back up. You got
Mhm.
Kobe, maybe they call him the
Patrick
Cough, but
Williams.
Patrick Williams, and
I
some
think he's a
combination of
restricted
Vooch.
free agent as well.
He
Patrick's a
is.
restricted free
He
agent.
is. So you got
Mhm.
Vooch, but you can move him, maybe drafting a guy. They've been linked to Klingon
Mhm.
from UConn in this year's draft. So you can see them drafting a guy like him, maybe a Zach Edey. I think they're at pick 11 right now. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that they can do, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Bulls are. You know what? Sometimes teams make a move and you just don't know what their plan is. You just got to figure it out.
You
And
never
I
know
think
what the
that's
Bulls'
kind of
plan is.
right.
They don't
And
want to. It's like they fine with being in a play-in every year.
yeah,
It's like I don't think they should sign DeRozan back.
I don't either.
It's like you're gonna be in the middle game. Hey, I'm cool at the between the 7 and 10 seed again, and I don't think if you got to pick a direction. You don't have to go full. Well, they've
Mhm.
been scared to go full rebuild, and it's hard to get off that Zach Levine contract. But you have a
Right.
chance to let DeRozan go pick where he wants to be at. You don't have to give him 40 million a year and tie
Hmm.
that up in your cap, and then turn around and try to trade him this next year or something like that when the
Right.
team stinks again. But I got one question for you: who starts in OKC, Caruso or Dort?
I think both of them start. I think
Both. So
you
you're
have
gonna
a
go small with Jalen Williams at the power forward.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
and I'm
and
gonna have
Chet at
Chet
the
starting
center.
at the 5. Yeah,
Okay, for
I'm have
sure.
Chet starting at the 5.
All right, moving on. We're gonna get to some bag talk right now, extension talk, and the most recent one, which came in about an hour ago. My guy, love Bam, bro. Bam at a Bayou, 3 years, 166 million. I think the Heat should unleash him on offense, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hub on offense for them out the post with passing, and
Mm-hmm.
he showed a lot. When guys are out, he can
Yeah.
score the ball and contribute more offensively. I think they should
Mm-hmm.
let him score more, at least attempt to score more, get more shots up at the basket. But he's a great passer, and I think they
Mm-hmm.
should utilize him more on offense. But what do you think of the extension? He signed it early, could have waited
Mm-hmm.
next year to see if he won a defensive player of the year to get a super max, but
Mm-hmm.
3 year 166 million, that's about
Yeah.
what 50
Yeah, it's about 55,
5,
something like that.
55 million, something like that a
Mm-hmm.
year. So I wouldn't have waited either for that. So
Yeah, and I
what you
like it.
think of the extension?
I'm glad he got that done early. And then again with the 3-year tag, he'll be
Mhm,
a free agent soon enough. It can cash
mhm.
in. So if he's able to get some of those accolades you speak of, like Defensive Player of the Year, which he arguably was robbed this year.
All
But
NBA.
all NBA, all these things that he can have another big payday in his future. We talked about a few episodes ago. They was talking about role players getting 70 million. So if Bam kind of takes it up another notch, man, like
Yep.
the sky's gonna be the limit for him.
And
So
Jimmy's a free agent. Well,
yeah,
not a
and
free. Yeah, he is a
well,
free agent, I believe.
he's I think he has 1 year left on his deal.
Oh yeah,
That was
one
a
year.
short extension. And there's talks that they may be moving Jimmy Butler. I don't know how true that is, but
It's
but at
sparking up,
any
bro.
rate, yeah, but at any rate, I think paying Bam northward $50 million, you're telling him that whether you want to or not, you're going to have to be more of a focal point for our
Mhm.
offense and not just as a facilitator. Like
Oh,
we got to run offense through you. You got to look to score,
mhm.
and still kind of be that top defensive guy for us, but also one of the top defensive guys in the league. But
Trying to take it to the next level.
he has to, and I think we talked about that kind of like in the playoffs. Like they're not going to win games, especially if you don't have a Jimmy Butler right now. You're not going to win games if Bam doesn't think I have to get somewhere north of 25 plus, along with maybe 8 or 9 assists a game,
Mhm.
and along with the rebounding. Like that, just kind of he has to take more of, I guess, a Jokic type of mentality now.
Right.
Um, he's got the passing and the rebounding and I guess defense. Jokic isn't defender, but you know what I mean. He has
Right.
those types of things down, but I think now elevating his scoring ability.
Mhm.
Um, we've seen him kind of test the waters of 3-point range. I don't think he needs to get to a point where he relies on that.
Right.
But you got a guy like UD that's talking about, hey, we need to get a 5 in here so Bam can go to be a natural forward. If you're going to be a natural four in this league, you're going to have to shoot threes,
Mhm.
especially if you got a center that is probably more of a traditional big kind of
Right, it
a rim
depends.
protector,
Right, it
right?
depends. If he has a stretch five, kind of like a Brook
Mhm.
Lopez, then
Yeah.
he can operate kind of in that inside because he has a
Mhm.
mid range shot and a close range jumper. He has that in his arsenal.
Mhm.
But I think overall, I think it's a no brainer deal. He's gonna
Yeah.
be your guy that you build around if Jimmy's there or not there. But they struck out with Dame last year.
Mhm.
Um, of course, they're gonna be hunting for another guy, no matter what it is. If they're looking to trade Jimmy or keep him, they would. Oh, excuse me. They
No, you
wanted
good.
Jimmy. They wanted Jimmy to play more regular season games. At least Pat Riley, that's coming out of their camp.
Mhm.
But and Jimmy's has probably never been that since he left Tibbs. Um, so we'll see the Miami Heat direction in which they go. But on to another extension. Even bigger money than this. Scotty Barnes, 5 years,
Sir.
$270 million. Could be worth up to 270 million. And that's of course depending on if he makes all NBA, if he wins an MVP,
Mhm.
all defensive things like that.
Yeah.
But overall, could be up to 270. This money is getting crazy, man. I saw a lot of people talk about this man never made an all-star game. Toronto sucked. He had a great year last year. It's just Toronto
Yeah.
was bad. But I don't want to ask, do you think he deserves the money? Because we're not here to judge.
Mhm. You on mute, brother. But yeah, but just why I got the gist of what you was asking, man. I think, with Scotty, he's one of the
Yep.
good young players in the league. So, yeah, I mean, we can talk about whether he deserves it or not, but he is the face of the Toronto Raptors franchise, and I think a guy that they can kind of stick behind. You trade a OG, you trade a Pascal, and you tell Scotty, hey, this is truly your team now, and you go with whatever that takes you. And he's a guy I really like watching play. Like he's the size of a forward, but has guard like abilities, so he
Mhm,
can be your best playmaker and your best scorer. He's definitely improved from 3-point range. That was one of the things coming into the league that people had question marks about, and he showed the ability to knock down threes. And I think that's something that he's going to continue to grow in. Right now, he's probably the Raptors' best defender too. So I think you
mhm.
got to get him some help because you can't have the guy be the best at everything. You got to have somebody come in, some role players, and build around them. I'm interested to see what the Raptors just kind of what's the long term plan, I guess now.
Mhm.
When you pay a guy that type of money, how
Then
soon within that do you want to kind of really start building a competitive roster? Because
mhm.
they have some pieces like Gary Trent Jr. is there. You
They're
got
gonna
Jakob
trade
Pertl,
him.
maybe, but you signed Jakob Pertl to an extension, I think last offseason when he got traded to you. So
Mhm,
you have at least some decent amount of pieces to really just kind of start building up that brand. I don't think Toronto's ever going to be a free agency destination. So you can kind of forget that in regards to getting a star player to pair with Scotty. But if you can draft well, develop well, maybe get some of these kind of role players to come in, because you're probably going to be a team with a lot of money that those guys are more than willing to endure the Toronto winters to get paid, right? So you might kind of see them utilize him the way they maybe utilized DeMar DeRozan early on, where they just kind of
mhm,
started getting just some guys that had been used to winning at certain stops, kind of down
mhm.
into their career, kind of building up the prestige of Toronto while your star player kind of gets it going, and then maybe add another piece like they did with Kyle Lowry. And now you're talking about being a perennial, playoff top of the Eastern
Mhm,
Conference team. I can see that going
mhm.
forward.
Um, I kind of agree with most of the gist you said. They with the Scotty Barnes, they haven't made a big trade since the Kawhi
Mm-hmm.
trade. Well, basically, that shouldn't have been a trade that was made. It's just the Spurs was really pissed off with your guy
Yeah,
Kawhi, so they
they were.
sent him there. But I'm sure they had better deals other than DeRozan and Pope Jakob. But
Yeah.
Jakob is back with Toronto. That's kind of crazy.
He got a
But
first
yeah,
round pick
he's
out of it, so it works.
right. he should have never been sent to Toronto in the first place. So the Spurs gifted them that trade, but you're not gonna see Toronto making too many big trades. And they cleared the decks for Scotty Barnes. Like you said, they got rid of OG, Pascal. It was a log jam at that forward position when they draft. I remember they had just a bunch of forwards when Scotty came in.
Mhm.
Them three, they had Chris Boucher, I believe.
Yeah.
Preston Achua, he's not a forward, but he's a power forward center, and he's kind of the same size as those guys.
Mhm.
So, and they had no guards. So, and I don't know who their point guard is right now, currently. So, I know
I
they
want
had
to say
Dennis
Dennis
Schroeder, but they
Schroeder.
got rid of him. They traded him to the Nets
They did.
mid season. So, I don't know who they replaced him with, but I got my dogs acting up, but they heard the doorbell. But overall, I think it's a good deal. You had to pay him. Who else you gonna pay? You have
Right.
nobody else lined up.
Mhm.
And they have a team option with Bruce Brown. They can use him to bring some talent over there, make a trade, use a couple of those picks. They have the 19th pick tonight, so we'll see what they draft. I'm sure they're gonna go with the point guard
Mhm.
because I'm still thinking, and I cannot find out who their point guard is right now.
Right. Well, to be
Um,
honest with you, Scotty's probably their de
he's
facto
a point
point
forward,
guard. So,
definitely. Bruce Brown ran a couple point, ran a little ball handling, but hey, Toronto, we're gonna see what y'all guys do up there in Canada. Hey, maybe Shea come to y'all. He's from there when he's maybe he will come back home. Well, we're gonna move on to one more signing, my guy, Malik Monk, 4 years, 78 million deal. And I have to say this: Malik Monk was on a minimum 2 years ago with the Lakers.
mhm.
He chose to go to the Lakers to get his stock back up. Um, After that, yeah, he signed I believe, a 2-year deal worth 18 million, I believe, with Sacramento. So he
Mhm.
got back up his money. Then he had a big year with Sacramento, and he just got back up from a minimum player to a $78 million player. 6-man scoring machine, microwavable, can score with the star players, as you see. Eliminated the Warriors, got his revenge back. Um, and he went out in a playing game against the Pelicans this year. But Malik Monk got his money. I think it's well deserved. What do you think?
I think actually they got him for a steal. I think
Mm-hmm.
seeing what I guess role players are getting paid now, and to get him for less than 20 million a year,
Mm-hmm.
when he's probably your second best player, to be quite honest with you, behind De'Aaron Fox,
Man,
that you
not
can
the
rely
shots at
on.
Sabonis, huh?
Like, I mean, look, when it's a guards league at the end of the
Just say
day,
scoring,
and I
huh?
think when you got to rely on people to have that scoring punch. I think Malik's the guy that can do that,
Mm-hmm.
especially when him and Fox play together.
And
He
they
takes a lot
definitely
of
missed
pressure
him
off.
because he didn't play in a playing game, I believe,
I
against
don't
the
think so.
Pelicans. They
Yeah,
definitely
I
missed
don't
him.
think so. And so I think they got him for still, first of
Mm-hmm.
all. But I'm glad that he went back, because sometimes you get to a space and they kind of build you back up, build your confidence back up. You're showing that, hey, I can play in this league. And I think sometimes role players, they can let that get to the head a little bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe a Bruce Brown, let me go take a significant amount of money, and
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't work out, and now I'm back at square one trying to show that, hey, I can be a valuable piece on a contending roster. So I think him kind of securing himself, getting some money, some well-deserved money, is good. I think it's good
Mm-hmm.
for the Kings, especially if, I don't know if you heard, but De'Aaron Fox is not signing a contract extension
I
this summer,
saw that, and I
and
think that's smart. More
he
guys need
wants
to
to
do
see
that.
if they're willing to win. And I think maybe a Malik Monk coming back is part of Sacramento showing, hey, like, we want this to work. We're getting one of your college teammates back. Like, we want him a part of the future. I think maybe you got to start looking at that bench a little bit. Maybe
Also, they had rumblings about them acquiring Zach LaVine.
I did hear
Um,
that. I did
so
hear that.
that might be a trio that can work offensively. With Darren Fox, Zach LaVine next to him, of course, Malik Monk being that heater off the bench. I think that'll
Mhm.
work pretty good, depending on what they send out. I'm guessing that'll be Kevin Herter. That's
That's what
probably
I
the only
heard.
way they can make it work. Yeah, so Kevin Herter. I know they want to keep Keegan Murray, so
Yeah, I don't
um
think he's going anywhere. I think he's untouchable.
they gave I'm I never been the biggest fan of Sabonis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think his play, um, what should I say? I think it digressed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, I think he has to become better if they want to get to second round or conference finals,
Mhm.
because I think that's their ceiling right now. Second
Yeah.
round, I believe they probably can. I think they can win a first round series depending on the matchup. But
Mhm.
good deal overall from Malik Monk. Glad he got his money, man. Coming off of minimum 2 years ago, I knew he feeling good right now. Like, bro,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
almost out the lead 2 years ago, and he back. All right. We got the trades, y'all, extensions, and this a trade that I didn't that we didn't talk about. Just a side note about the Spurs and your Hawks. What do you think is going on before the draft right now? And what do you want to see
Mhm.
from them guys? Because I have a little clip for you right now that the Hawks are telling your Spurs.
I want my number ones back, all of them.
I'm willing to give them their number one for Trey Young, maybe
Uh-huh.
a Clint Capella,
Uh-huh.
especially if the Spurs within that deal can keep one of whether it's pick number 4 or pick number 8.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that for them. When I kind of think about what the Spurs are going to do, man, they've been linked to so many players to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I think it's some level of smoke screen going on.
That's
Like
how it
I
is when
want,
you got the cat room. The
like bro, it's
Spurs and Orlando are linked to
yeah,
everybody.
like bro, they got us linked to Stephon Castle, Zach Reese, Nicola Topic, Alex Sarr, Rob Dillingham, Donovan Clingan, which is kind of the big name right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's trying to figure out how they can get to number 4 to get them. And then Reed Shepard. So it's so many players. And
Oh,
then
you
to
know the
your point,
Rockets are shopping. They picked 2 at number 3.
yep, yep.
So
So
because they have Sengun and Jabari Smith Jr. So drafting Donovan Clingan is not really
yeah, they're gonna have
appealing
to
to
figure
them.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when it comes to the Spurs and the Hawks, man, there's been so many conversations about what they're looking to do. First is, hey, are they trying to package some things for Trey Young? We just saw yesterday news that hey, Trey Young has listed 3 teams he wants to go to: Pelicans, Lakers, Spurs. Well, of the 3, the Spurs have the best package. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
anybody can deny that. From a draft asset standpoint, you can maybe get a guy like Keldon Johnson who's on a cheaper contract.
Mm-hmm.
You're good. So it'll be a
And
matter of if the Spurs want him or not. I think I can even throw the Pelicans in there. Like I told
mm-hmm.
somebody, if the Lakers end up getting a Trey Young, it's because the other 2 teams didn't try at all.
It's because Trey
Um,
Young probably said, "Hey, I want." That's why I won't go, because I
yeah.
believe the Hawks, they don't want to take back any more money. They're in a real tough spot with money.
Mm-hmm.
To say they're not a good
Team.
team right now,
Yeah.
because Trey Young, we know if he's going out, you still have to get to that number of his contract, unless you're San Antonio, you have cap space to eat his contract and
Mm-hmm.
not send a lot of money back. But
Right.
if you're the Lakers, you got to get up to matching his contract, and they're gonna have to stack a couple guys,
Right.
probably like Rui, Gabe, and D'Angelo Russell if he opts
Right.
in, and they're gonna probably have to find a third team because that's how it fell apart with Murray.
Right.
And the Pelicans, I don't know. I don't know.
Like
They don't make trades like this.
they don't make trades like that. Everybody's saying, "Oh, we got Brand." Like somebody told me, "Oh, they got the best player in like from an asset standpoint." But I'm
Who?
like,
Who?
they
Herb
in
or Trey?
referring to Brandon Ingram. But I'm like, why
Oh,
would the
okay.
Hawks? Why
I
would
don't
the
think the
Hawks
Hawks
want a
looking to
Brandon
do that.
Ingram on a 1-year deal? Why would Brandon Ingram sign up for essentially a rebuilding team at that point when he could? So we don't even know the dynamic of what if he'd want to extend his
But look at
contract with the
this.
Hawks. So
Look at this. Brandon Ingram on the Hawks team.
mhm.
There's they have Sadiq Bey. They have DeAndre Hunter. They have
Right,
Jalen Johnson.
right,
Those are 3 forwards right there. They have the first pick,
right.
which is going to be we don't know if it's Alex
It's
Sarr
not going to be
because he
Zach
hasn't
Reese.
worked out for
He's
them.
another forward, six
Yes,
nine
because
forward.
Alex Sarr doesn't want to work out for them. So those are forwards right there.
Right.
Brandon Ingram, and they don't want to take money back. Like I said,
You
these
don't.
guys they have a lot of money strapped up in the team they got
Mhm,
right now. They try to shop Trey, which is the
mhm.
biggest contract. They try to shop Capella as well.
They
So
are.
that's 20 million with Capella and whatever Trey makes. I think he makes like 40 something.
They had
They
40
also have
probably.
Murray. And they also have Murray they trying to shop. So
Yeah, and
I
they
don't know
trying
if
to
they want
shop
to.
Murray. and they're trying to shop Murray before that extension kick in
Yeah.
as
So
well.
I don't
So
know, and he has a friendly contract. His is very reasonable, but getting up to 40 is going to be tough for guys, unless it's the Spurs, like I said, because y'all
yeah,
have cap space where y'all
but
get
you
contract.
know,
I
in a
got
perfect world, I hope the Spurs make the trade for Trae Young
I
because
hope
like
the
somebody's like, oh,
barrel.
getting Trae Young don't make y'all a title contender. And I'm like, well, you never know that.
It's
And I'm
steps
like,
though.
it's a stepping stone. And my thing is, look, the number metrics show that if Trae Jones and Wemby had started at the 1 and the 5 respectively to start the season, the Spurs would have won 37 games. 37 games. Just that lineup. So now you're telling me if I put an all-star, one of the best players in the league at that point guard spot, with Wemby at the 5, I
27
can't
and 12
theoretically
guy.
get 10 more on that. I can't theoretically get a 47-win season.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young can't account for 10 wins for me. And then thinking about all the other pieces they have, having the the cap room we have, but
Yeah.
also the draft capital we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are some moves that can be made and put some people around a core of Wemby and Trae Young. You still got Devin Vassell. You still got Jeremy Sohan. You got City Sissoko. You're going to have Trae Jones now leading your bench unit.
You're gonna
So,
have Zach Collins.
well, I think Zach will probably get put in the trade, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And then we can probably use one of our picks on a center or something like that. But let's say we don't. Let's say we just say, hey, we not in a position. We don't really want to get Trae Young yet. Wemby says, I don't really want him yet. That type of thing. Well, look, I would like to see a Rob Dillingham at number 4. I know he's undersized at 6'1" for a point guard, but you can't teach scoring. And he's a playmaker at that. So I think somebody that we can heavily rely on in that pick and roll to be a playmaker for others, but also knowing how to get some points himself. And then, bro, I was up at 3 a.m. looking at this dude's highlight from France. His name's like T John Salon, something like that. And apparently
You talk about the point guard.
he's a force. He's about 6'10".
Oh, I think I saw Brian Windhurst talk about him.
Yeah,
I think I know you talk about.
he's like a more athletic Davis Bertans, and that
Okay.
plays defense from what I was seeing. Like, man, it was running, like split screens from him, flare screens, getting them open looks from 3. He was knocking
You
that
like
shit
that,
down.
huh?
I like that because guess what? We were the worst 3-point shooting team in the league. So the
Well,
more
yeah,
help
I don't
we
have too
can
many
get,
shooters.
the more help we can get from the perimeter, the better. And then he even showed some flashes, being able to make some plays offensively. Scouts say his growth is going to be on the defensive end, which is fine. I mean, when you got Wemby back there, you have enough time to work on your defense. So it almost seems as if that guy is a lock at 8, and that even if there's any trades that happen, the Spurs will probably try to keep that 8th pick because that's where they can still get that Frenchman for their team. So I don't know, man. Brian Wright is probably the most mysterious person in the world. So you never know what's going to happen. You just kind of deal with it. And when you got a player like Wemby now, like I kind of feel like I used to in the Duncan days. Like, I don't care who y'all draft. I got Tim Duncan. That's kind of where I'm at now right now. Like, I got
Okay.
Wemby. So, but I
All
know,
right.
your Lakers, because the Pels pretty much gifted them their first round pick back. What you what you think they doing with that? You think they going to somebody, or you think they're going to trade it, or better yet, what would you do if you were in the position of what do I do with pick number 17 this year?
Pick number 17 for the Lakers. They're not my Lakers, but
What
what
you
I
want
would
your
do,
LeBron to do, Le GM?
yeah, GM. You know what I like? I would like for the Lakers, if they can get DeJounte Murray, that would be where I would go without having to give up 3 picks. If 2 picks can do it, I think Atlanta would be not interested in the 17 pick. They will probably be more interested in the 2 future picks. So I think if they can get those 2 picks gone and a player who's probably not, I don't know, maybe whoever it takes to get it done, it's probably most likely going to be ruined something, since D'Angelo Russell hasn't picked up his option yet or something like that. But that's what I would go for them to do. They won't have to gut their team out. He's a great fit next to those guys. play a little defense, compliments Austin Reeves. They complement each other better than D'Lo and Reeves.
Mhm.
And then his contract is very friendly if you want to flip it, saying you the Lakers when LeBron's gone. If you want to go start hunting again when LeBron retires. But I got one question for you.
Mhm.
Um, does Trey Young get traded today? DeJounte or Trey?
Personally, I feel like they both get traded today. I I
Okay. Where do
I
they
don't see
land?
this.
Guess
I
your
don't see
landing.
this. Yeah, I don't see this like over the next 48 hours. Like I feel like you're going to hear Trey Young, DeJounte Murray, Brandon Ingram. Like I feel like those are going to be the three names we hear,
Okay. What about
and
Paul
then
George?
I think we'll probably hear more so on the weekend. I know he has.
Okay.
They said he has until Saturday to
Mm-hmm.
pick up his option. I think the Warriors are really working hard on trying to get him. And I can
Steph
see
say
that.
he back, baby.
I can see that happening,
Mhm.
and I think it might be a case of he might say, "Hey, either trade me to the Warriors and get something, or I'm going to opt out and then sign with the Warriors." And I think that's going to kind of force
I
the
don't think
Clippers'
they can
hand a
sign. They
little bit.
can't sign him. They
Well,
can't. The only way he go to the Warriors, I believe, if he opts in, because they have Clay. He's free agent, but Chris Paul
yeah,
has 31 million. It's not guaranteed though.
mhm.
They can release him, but I don't know if they're gonna have the cap space. So if PG
Yeah,
opts
they'd
in,
have the
he's
money.
getting traded.
Yeah, they'd have the
If he
money because
opts
you're
in,
letting Clay go, and you can
uh
get rid of Chris Paul. He doesn't have a
okay.
guaranteed contract, but I think they all would like to maybe work on a trade. You know, the
Mhm.
Clippers have
To
apparently the
get
Clippers
something
are
back at least.
looking at Chris Paul.
Mhm.
So, you know, maybe they get a maybe the Clippers get a Chris Paul and an Andrew Wiggins, and you get a
Mhm.
Paul George to the Bay. So
Okay, I feel that. I ain't mad at that for the Warriors. Got to try to make some move somewhere,
mhm.
because they're in dire straits right now. And if PG goes to the Warriors, that might mean the end of Clay, unless he sees he's like, oh, we got another chance. I'll take a real pay cut.
I think he's going. I think his pride is the reason why he's going. Because one, I
Definitely
think he should have accepted that extension last year,
2 year,
that
48
2 to 48,
million.
but he turned that down and didn't play well this year, and
I
he's
thought that
still
was great
wanting.
value too.
Yeah, and he's still wanting the Warriors to commit 3 to 4 years to him. I guess kind of similar to what they did with Draymond. Like that's just not going to happen at this day and age.
Yeah, the
Um,
most he should
so
get probably is 2 the way he's performing.
right, and I think that's still the number where they are. They're still at 2 years, and they
Mhm.
won't go any higher to 3 or 4. And if
I believe
Steph's
they're
not,
justified.
yeah, and if Steph's not running to that office demanding that you get 2 additional years to your contract, they're just not going to move on that. And so you
I'm
might see a
sorry,
team like
yeah.
the Magic take a leap on them or something like that. You know,
Yeah, I'm sorry if Steph came out often and said give him 4 years. Steph, respectfully, this is not your money.
but I'll be
We
like, give
love
him your
you.
money. You gonna pay?
We
You gonna pay him
yeah,
another two?
we gave you 200. We gave you 250. We ain't
Mhm.
giving Clay that. We love him. We ain't paying him for what
Yeah.
he did.
And keep in
So
mind, we can talk about Draymond all we want to. Draymond took a pay cut to come back too.
and
So
Draymond is performing still,
yeah,
other than the suspensions. He's
right.
performing. Still a
So
top-notch defender. It's still they still run the offense through him.
mhm,
So he's very important to that thing. And Clay is being judged off of who he used to be. That's why it's a detriment to him right now.
yeah,
Because when you look at the scope of things, he's still shooting 40% from three.
mhm,
He's just not he's not the number two option anymore. He's not on a scouting report as the top-notch guy. The second guy there is
yeah.
Kuminga. He stepped into that role. And if Paul George come there, he's just gonna be pushed down the
Right.
ladder even more. So
And what's more important is Clay's lost his edge as a defender, and
yeah,
that
that's
was
the
kind
main
of
thing.
really a
Yeah,
big key for him.
definitely, yeah.
And we can't have two liabilities defensively in the backcourt together anymore.
Right.
And that's kind of what they're looking at too.
Yeah, that's
But
definitely them
again,
two back-to-back knee injuries killed his lateral
yeah,
movement on the defensive end.
yeah,
So he has to guard threes and fours now.
yeah, go
But
get Jordan Poole back. They need him.
that's cool. Now they need him. They need that too
Mhm.
that they been for the other splash brother. Um, we're gonna get to a couple coaching hires. Touch on these real quick, man. James Borrego did not get the Cleveland Cavaliers job. It went to Pelicans assistant coach Kenny Atkinson. I mean Warriors assistant coach.
Warriors,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, James Borrego is Pelicans assistant coach. But
Mhm.
Kenny Atkinson back on the coaching head coach carousel, my man.
Mhm.
He got unfairly, I think, dismissed from the
Yeah,
Nets. He was building something with that. That team was pretty fun. Now he takes over the Cavs team. They're trying to get Mitchell locked up on a long-term deal. He has to deal with two guards that may not be like playing with each other.
right.
At least from Rich Paul and Garland perspective. So what do you think of the hire, Kenny Atkinson?
Yeah, man, I like it for Kenny, and he's going to be reuniting with two of his former Brooklyn Nets, and Jared Allen and Kerry LeVert. And so those are guys that he has chemistry with. They can maybe be some guys who are already leaders in that Cavaliers locker room that can kind of help spread
Mhm.
his message a little bit. I don't know who he'll have. Like, I don't think it'll be both Garland and Mitchell in that
Okay.
backcourt. I think enough reports have kind of come out about that if Mitchell resigns, Garland will look to be moved elsewhere. I think what's hurting that story or direction is that Donovan Mitchell hasn't signed his extension yet. Because had he
Mhm.
signed his extension, then we're at the heart of the draft. We can really start to talk. But
Right.
if that doesn't happen in the next 48 hours, it's going to be a lot harder. See how that goes. And now you're talking about Cavaliers getting compensation maybe in 2025 as opposed to this year. So we'll see how that plays out. But I'll say with Kenny, I think it's kind of best of both worlds for him in the sense of he could either be coaching for a contending roster in the Eastern Conference, and that could be good for him. Or
Mhm.
let's say there's some trades happen, some guys that are there now aren't there by trade deadline. He's shown the ability in his career to kind of build up a team, maybe have
Mhm.
some guys play a little bit above their station, and really build a cohesive roster that I think attracts other people. Like there's a reason why Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant wanted to go to the Brooklyn Nets over the New York Knicks. And I think it had a lot to do with what Kenny Atkinson was building in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, they wanted to try their hands at being GMs, and they got him out of there and brought Steve Nash in because they want to do what they wanted to do. Whereas I think had you had a guy like Kenny Atkinson still at the helm, you probably could have had a better showing as a big three when you have KD, um,
Harden.
Kyrie, and Harden, as opposed to what you had to do with a first time head coach that had never done it before. So I think it's a good move for Kenny either way because he's shown he can deal with the rebuild, but maybe he can also have an opportunity to coach a contender, a playoffs contender in the Eastern Conference. So it's kind of a win-win for him,
Mhm.
and I think it's good for the Cavs. I think they need to have a coach with some moxie. I think first of all they shouldn't have fired JB Bickerstaff, but if you're going to replace him, I think they replaced him with a good hire. Um, I would have liked to see James Borrego get the job, but as I think about it, for him having been a part of a rebuilding team that didn't really get it going, he probably said, "Hey, I'd rather stay in New Orleans where look some stuff happens, I might end up getting that head coach spot and having a chance to prove myself with maybe a much better roster when
Mhm.
healthy." So there's a lot of dynamics. But I thought James Borrego would have gotten it, but maybe he felt like where he was in New Orleans probably presented a better opportunity for him as opposed to just taking maybe the first opportunity at another head coaching job. So
All right. Um, I think any job that's open in the Eastern Conference coaching, I think
mhm,
coaches should really jump on that because they have a chance to hop into a conference that's not very strong, just a little top heavy.
mhm,
And the bottom is a little fluff and taking over. Like I heard James Borrego is probably going to get that Pistons job because we know
mm,
Pelicans GM just got the job over there, and they hired I believe I forgot what coach that they hired on their staff from the Pelicans as well. So they said they wanted like a trio over there. So
mhm,
we might be getting news that Borrego is the Pistons coach. I know they set up some interviews with Timberwolves assistant coach Michael Nori and I forgot the other guy, but Yeah, Kenny Atkinson, I think it's a good move. Got him off the assistant coach tree. We'll see what he can do. I think it's all up to Kobe Altman, the GM
Yeah.
of the Cavs, and we have to see how he control these two guards, see what goes on with this extension. Because hey, we could talk about all this wait. What's the wait for? If you sign an extension, sign the extension. That's what I don't
Right.
get. Like it's draft. You're holding a team. It's draft day. If you sign the extension in Darius Garland and he can find a great trade for
Mm-hmm.
Darius Garland and extract some picks this year out of this draft and a player that probably fits, get it now
Mm-hmm.
besides waiting after, because you might can find some guy who complements Donovan Mitchell's skill
Right.
differently. He might need a pass first point guard. He might not need a scoring guard like Garland when you are predominantly ball in your hand scoring type guard. So try to get a wing player and a
Mm-hmm.
pass first point guard to fit next to Mitchell if they resign him. But I don't know if Mitchell wants to be that, because I'll eat my words if he signs. But if you want to sign, sign now. I
Right.
hate all the waiting.
Yeah.
But another coach got an extension. Chris Finch got his team in the conference finals, took out the defending champs, and took out his knee at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 4-year deal, take him all the way through 2028 season. Um, I believe K move, well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Timberwolves haven't been there since the KG Timberwolves, so
Yeah.
I think it's pretty simple as that. They don't come out with the numbers of how much he made, because the coaches are pretty making a good. I think most coaches are at probably like 7 million or above at this
Mm-hmm.
point. What do you think of the extension for Chris Finch?
Man, I think he's deserved. Not. I think it kind of shows where the Minnesota Timberwolves are moving as an organization. I don't know if this is the Alex Rodriguez ownership group or the
Half
other
and
guy's
half.
ownership group that's responsible for this extension. But either way, I think you got to give a shout out to ownership in that. I think in this league we see so many times that coaches aren't allowed to grow and help
Mhm,
build teams, and at the same time you don't see, I guess, general managers and coaches kind of growing simultaneously. And I think you
mhm,
kind of saw that in Minnesota where they got better from a X's and O's standpoint and a culture standpoint. But I think their GM did a good job of bringing guys in to help build around Cat, Anthony Edwards. We talked about the Rudy Gobert situation and how I know I was like, what the hell you gave up all that for Rudy Gobert for? But it pans out. It helped your defense grow. It helped Cat not have as much pressure, especially on the defensive end, having to
yep.
guard some of the better bigs in this league, because we already know he fouls out all the time. So,
Happy go lucky on the
you know,
defensive
it,
end.
it's been really good for them. And then they've had really solid drafts as well. And so, them being able to do that from the scouting and talent acquisition standpoint, and Coach Finch being able to showcase that, hey, you give me the groceries, I can cook a hell of a meal. And so I
Mhm.
think the sky's the limit for Minnesota. And we're kind of in those situations. Kind of we talk about the Knicks. Like, are you feeling like, hey, we're just gonna run it back with what we have, or are you gonna pounce on this opportunity to acquire more talent, to build more
Um,
around Anthony Edwards, and maybe, hey, don't get gentlemen swept in the Western Conference Finals. Maybe we're talking about you winning the thing. Maybe we're talking about you winning the whole thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over these next 4 years. But just from a fan perspective, I like to see organizations be patient, because that's kind of a lost art nowadays. It's like if you haven't won by year 2, you hitting the door.
mhm.
Uh, so it's kind of good. I think it's good for Minnesota, but we'll see how it goes, how it pays off for everybody involved.
Yeah, with that, I don't think they're gonna be making. They're a pretty expensive team as well, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're gonna be making any drastic changes, especially with ownership in the balance.
Yeah.
Um, so I think they're just gonna make moves around the margins, and try and hope that, of course, Ant gets better, Cat plays better in the
Mhm.
playoffs, and I think that's all you can hope. You can't ask too much of Rudy. Rudy is who he is right now. You know what you're gonna get from him. He's got better defensively on the perimeter, but the offensive game is not his. That's not his forte. He's not gonna. He's gonna get the putbacks and things like that. But other than that, your team is your team. And I think, is it Jaden? I think that's Jaden.
I think
Jaden
he's Jaden
McDaniels.
McDaniels. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I think
Jalen
that's him.
plays for the Hornets. So I think Jaden, he has room to improve for sure. He's a 3-and-D player. But I think if he can add some moves off the dribble, a more consistent 3-point shot, they can be right back in the mix next year. But on to a couple small signings, some we could get to briefly. Phoenix Suns center Drew Eubank declined his player option, basically a vet minimum. Um,
Mhm.
I think he's going to be able to probably increase his salary based off this year.
Mhm.
I think I don't know why Anthony Edwards said the same thing I said. I think we talked about this in a couple way weeks ago
Mhm.
one of our first episodes. Ant was at the presser like, why they not playing Drew Eubanks? He plays good. Like I don't know what Frank Vogel was doing. Like you had no
Yeah.
size outside of Drew Eubanks, and he was not playing them. He was trying to play small against the Timberwolves, and that's not going to work with them Twin Towers. So
Mhm.
Eubanks, I
But I
think he's going
think
to get a. You go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, no, you're right. He's gonna get picked up by somebody. Drew's from the Spurs factory, so I always gotta show him love.
Mm-hmm.
But from reports, they were saying that Phoenix just kind of was ready to move off of him, kind of a new coaching regime, and that
Mm-hmm.
actually the new coach he wants to kind of play a little bit more through Bowl, give him more of an opportunity. So maybe that kind of played into
Budenholzer.
yeah. So because they basically told Drew, we don't really want you back. That's why he declined it.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really more of him just kind of wanting to leave. I think he wanted to pick up his option, but if you
Mm-hmm.
tell me you don't want me, and there's an opportunity for me to go get paid more in the open market, I'm gonna go ahead and go do that. And
And
so,
everybody's looking for quality
yeah,
centers at this moment,
yeah.
especially on the vet minimum.
Come on back to Wimbentonio, Drew.
Nah, I wouldn't
Have
put
our
it. I
coffee
wouldn't put
dates
it
again.
past him. I would not put it past him. I recently seen as well. Just quick note. This is a stack show, you guys. There's a lot of rumors going on right now, but I recently seen the Pels, Jonas Valanciunas. I seen that the Lakers are interested in making him
Mm-hmm.
a starting center. I don't know if you've seen this across your TL, but I think he's the type of center that will fit well next to AD.
I agree.
Jonas can stretch the floor. He has a good corner three. He's not high volume from the 3-point line, but he can knock it down at a good rate. And he has the size to deal with bigger centers
Yeah.
that I hate saying that AD doesn't want to deal with, which is not plenty, which is just Jokic
He
and
could be
Nurkic and
right.
Embiid. Those are probably the only big centers, but I
Yeah.
guess Jonas can take that burden off him
Mhm.
for just a couple minutes, and when it's crunch time, AD can check him.
Yeah.
What do you think about the fit right there?
I would love it for him. I was
Mm-hmm.
joking with one of my friends who's a Pels fan. He was like, nah, like that. They want our sloppy second. I was like, well, y'all don't want the guy. Y'all don't want to use him. You don't want to play him. Like, don't be mad when another team sees his value. And I think when I look at how he can fit with the Lakers or any team, honestly, that
Mm-hmm.
has a four or five guy that doesn't
He
really
can
want to
play
play five because
alongside.
of if he needs to. He
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of what Marcus Gasol was during their kind of championship year, where, hey, I'm gonna play the five, excellent passer. I can get some easy post buckets if you need me. I can
Mm-hmm.
do the pick and pop, whether it be mid range or a 3-pointer. I'd rather the mid range and be around the basket.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a guy they need that's physical and can take some of that pressure off of AD. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody kept talking about, oh, you got to keep running the offense through AD and everything. But it's like, if you want AD to be your best offensive player, and I got to guard Jokic every single possession, that's going to take a lot out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having a guy that can probably take some of those bumps and bruises for AD, and then he kind of closes the game out at the five, like a small ball five,
Mm-hmm. Kind of
that's
like a
going to work
championship,
wonders
yeah.
for him. So,
Mm-hmm.
if that ends up happening, I think JV could really get paid on the open market as a free
Mm-hmm.
agent. So I'm interested to see where he ends up landing. There's a lot of teams, especially a lot of contending teams,
Mm-hmm.
that I think would love him. I mean, shit, OKC would love to
I
have him.
was gonna mention OKC. I thought OKC is great. Just San Antonio, the Warriors could definitely use him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams could use him. I don't know what his market is going to be. I think it's probably going to be around a mid-level exception type guy. I don't know if he's going to get above that.
Mm-hmm.
Based off the he had a pretty rough playing game against the Lakers. In a rough series against who we talking about, OKC, that first round.
Mm-hmm.
He had a pretty tough series. I thought he would be able to dominate more what we know in OKC weak interior presence. They don't have anything outside of Chet, and
Right.
Chet doesn't have too much in the back pocket.
Meat
He's
in
just
his
pretty
bones,
long. Yeah,
but
he's just pretty long like Victor, and that works in the NBA. Length
mhm.
works, but I definitely think they could use him. Um, Speaking on the Pels, we're gonna get to Swing Cash being promoted to senior vice president of basketball operations, and
Mhm.
also them promoting Bryson Graham to the GM one day before the draft. Your thoughts on this? I'm not too familiar with Bryson Graham. I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with Swing Cash,
Yeah.
um, Hall of Fame in the WNBA, and she is the highest ranking female
Mm-hmm.
in the NBA front office currently at the moment. So she's making history every year. She's been
Right.
moving up the Pelicans ranks for a long time, and I think she has a soft place in Miss Benson Hart because that's that woman to woman connection right there. And
Right.
I think Gail Miss Benson sees her value in the franchise. So what do you think of these two promotions?
Yeah, well, look, we love barrier breakers. First
Mhm,
when she was as an athlete, one of
mhm,
the best to ever play this game, and now moving up the ranks in the NBA and being responsible for helping build teams and shape futures. And Bryson Graham, every time it's somebody like us that's getting these opportunities, you gotta applaud that because those opportunities don't come very often, right? And so, you lose a guy in Trajan Langdon, and you have a guy in the building that you promote and that you trust and you've invested in, and so you can't ask for nothing better than that.
mhm.
We were kind of talking before the show, and you were saying like who makes the decisions. I think is going to
Right.
kind of be a three-party
Collective.
system, and maybe David Griffin. I would say David Griffin at this point has the final say because he's president
Mhm,
of basketball operations. But um, I think you're gonna trust Swin and Bryson from a talent acquisition standpoint, especially with your college scouting, and because those folks, those are the types that are doing more of that right now. Whereas I
mhm,
think David Griffin at this point in his career and at his level is more so navigating the NBA waters, looking at maybe some targets that are currently in the league for the team or what trade packages work best for the team. But
mhm.
I think Swin and Bryson, they're going to be really big in the developmental piece of who are you bringing in from the college route, who's maybe that undrafted free agent that can come in and make some noise for your on your roster. So those are going to be probably some of the things that they're probably taking more of a vested interest in. But hey, maybe if DG doesn't get it done, I know everybody's calling for his head if they don't hear that Trae Young's been traded to the Pelicans, and maybe
Mhm.
Swin had an opportunity to get promoted because we see all the time in the NBA, just because the top boss gets fired doesn't mean everybody else does. So
All right.
you can see maybe a Swin get elevated, maybe a Bryson get elevated, and now you're bringing in maybe somebody else from the Pelicans farmhouse to come in and run
And
some things, and maybe somebody from the outside. So
and,
it's
and I
good.
facts and I think the Pelicans, they're one of those franchises who promote from within.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see too many outside hires. Like David Griffin was the last outside hire,
Mm,
and that was that was he was brought in to handle the AD fiasco,
pretty much,
um,
yeah.
and he handled that. He extracted as much as he could from the Lakers, and he
He did. They just didn't use it right. That's
yeah,
the issue.
correct. And he got extracted as much as he could from the Bucks with the Drew Holiday trade.
Mm-hmm.
And they drafted pretty well with Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. They picked up Jose Alvarado. You talked about undrafted guys. They've been hitting on some guys. They made the trade for CJ. Brandon Ingram, I think he's on his way out, which is should be they should not give him a contract. I think his time as ran out as a Pelican with the injuries and consistency. Him and Zion experiment should be done. Should be moving on from that. But like I said, this is one reason why I don't think the Pelicans will make that Trae Young move. They're a safe franchise. Maybe they fool me and change their approach of how they do
Mhm.
things. But these promotions from within, I don't know if they juggling on that phone with the Hawks right now. Maybe they might juggle some another player, but
Yeah.
I just don't see it for the Pelicans right now. But one more topic before we get out of here. Reggie Jackson picks up his player option. 5.2 million. I think that was a good decision. Reggie Jackson played all 82 games, averaged 10 points,
Mhm.
and 3.8 assists. The Nuggets need this because KCP is a free agent. They
Yeah.
lost Bruce Brown last year. They're an expensive team. Everybody don't forget Michael Porter is making. I think he's had that one of the first 180 million contracts.
Mhm.
Jamal Murray is making his money. Jokic is making his money. Aaron Gordon is making some money. So they with this new CBA, you're gonna have to let guys go, or you're gonna have to pay that luxury tax. And y'all seen it last year. We're letting the key piece go. Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. They really could have used those guys this year. So Christian Braun has to step up. Their rookie that they had last year. Well,
Mhm.
he's second year player now, but he has to step up, and they have to draft guys to fill in these roles because they letting guys go. KCP is their starting
Yeah.
shooting guard, and they need him badly. Stretch the floor, defense. But Reggie Jackson picked it up. They need all the depth they can get right now.
Mhm.
Solid player. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for Reggie. Played really well last year, especially during the stretch of time where Jamal Murray was injured
Mhm.
during the season. So you always want to have a quality backup point guard to help kind of run the offense and do some things. And he plays well off of Jokic. I think in a perfect world, to your point, like Christian Braun, like he's playing better. I think
Mhm.
Strother, who was a rookie last year out of Gonzaga, I think he
Peyton
wants
Watson.
him some more minutes because he's a guy that can stretch the floor, can play point guard and shooting guard,
Mhm.
maybe even guard the three at times with his kind of height and size. Peyton Watson, you're hoping he's developing
Mhm.
more so as an outside shooter because he has the athleticism, uh, kind of a younger version of AG,
I think.
Aaron
I
Gordon in a
think.
way. So
I think a good comp for Peyton Watson, kind of like how he plays and so athletic and young, is like a Jonathan Kuminga. If he can make
I
step
like that.
strides like that, I think he
Hmm.
definitely could be him Peyton Watson and Christian Braun.
Hmm.
They should be well, Christian Braun was already heavy in the rotation, but I think Peyton Watson should find him a solid spot
Yeah.
in their rotation, a consistent spot, especially if he's develops that corner three that he
Mhm.
definitely needs with Jokic
Yeah, because they're going to need
taking
that
it
depth
out.
back. We saw that without their depth that they had when their championship year, it was
Mhm.
kind of it was tougher. I mean,
Right.
yeah, they swept the Lakers, but that was probably the hardest fought sweep that you ever did
Right.
see. So
Came down to the
that
edge.
that there kind of showed you, hey man, like you don't have it the way you did last year,
The margin
and
for error,
yeah,
right?
and maybe you go back and get a guy like Bruce Brown, see if he can get back. Maybe you try to figure out a way to get KCP.
And a
I mean,
backup center. They
they
need a
need a
backup
backup
center.
center for sure.
Like they backup center for the championship. It was Jeff Green. They backup center this year. It was Aaron Gordon, and that
Yeah.
takes a lot out of a guy. So Jeff Green, that's Uncle Jeff. He was old, but he stretched the floor. Smart IQ player, and you need them in the playoffs. As you
Mhm.
hop on a lot, IQ. You need those type of players. But y'all, Bayou Ballers, that was a packed show. We have the draft later on at 7.
But
I'm looking
we
forward.
can't leave yet. You got to tell me how you feel about JJ, man.
Oh yeah, I forgot about JJ, man. See, man, JJ with the F bombs. Man, I'm looking forward to JJ. Hopefully, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to a young coach, man, for the team. Hopefully, he brings. I'm the thing I always see with the a LeBron team or this Lakers team, since LeBron got to the Lakers is a stagnant offense.
Mhm.
And when it comes to the fourth quarter, LeBron basically just the ball in his hand, rolls are just hunting. I would like JJ touched on feeding AD more, running the offense out of him in the fourth quarter, which I thought they should have done more. Get the ball to
Mhm.
AD in the post more. That's why LeBron was drained a lot. He has the ball in his hands the whole fourth quarter,
Mhm.
trying to make plays. And then at the end of the game, when it's time to make them play they out of gas or something like that.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I think JJ should bring a modernized offense, flare screens, a lot of
Mhm.
off ball things that I didn't see with Darvin Ham and Frank Vogel.
Mhm.
Just it was no pin downs, no no fun offense.
Yeah.
it wasn't nothing complicated to it. It's basically you can see everything
Mm.
in the
Yeah,
offense.
but
So I hope.
it's hard to run a fun offense when your best player is an old man and a big guy. Like you can't like it's only
Come
so
on,
much
man.
running. There's only so much running you can do. And
What?
like,
No, not running. I'm talking about like sets in a half
oh
court.
yeah, I don't
No,
yeah,
not up and down,
I know
not
what you
running gun.
mean.
Of course, LeBron
But you mean more
he
so
gets
half
gas too
court.
fast. Yeah,
You
half
mean
court.
so
Like
half court
we
offense.
get some sets with kind of like Jokic. Look, AD
Yeah.
at the high post and
Mhm.
run some off ball stuff with Jamal, Aaron Gordon, have LeBron
Yeah.
screening more things like
Mhm.
that. Besides LeBron just
Mhm.
four guys staring at LeBron in that pick and roll. I think they need to
Yeah.
address that. And I
Yeah.
wanted to hear JJ Redick address why he didn't have AD on none of his all defensive teams. I didn't see that. But he said
Yeah. You see it.
AD is a top 5 player in his book in the NBA in his book, but he didn't have them all none of the all
Yeah.
defensive teams. So I wanted to hear that question asked.
Right.
But
Well, you know,
what's
man.
your thoughts?
Look, he definitely won the press conference, which isn't surprising from a communications major who also went to
Mhm.
Duke, Harvard of the South. So,
Dookie.
man, look, I've been saying it. Like I didn't care if JJ Redick was a head coach. I just didn't think that this was the opportunity he should have taken. But
Mhm.
it seems like it was really the only opportunity that was offered, and beggars can't be choosers, right? And the thing for him is that the expectation is the expectation. You gotta really understand that. Like you can say what you
Mhm.
want, you don't care about the haters and all that type of stuff in your press conference, but you are probably maybe second to New York, if not on par with
Mhm.
the most on you media market in the world,
Yeah.
and you kind of having a little bit of that bravado going into it and dropping f bombs like
He definitely has it.
it's going to be a target. It's going to be a
Mhm.
target on his back, and I don't think he made it any smaller in the sense of, hey, you are a first-time head coach. There is some speculation that a friendship got you to this position over maybe some other qualified candidates.
Speculation.
So they're gonna
Confidential
be
information.
right. So they're gonna be on his behind, and I think
I'm
some
looking
players are
forward
going to
to
be
it.
wanting to kind of show their behind a little bit too against the Lakers. And I touched on this yesterday, man. I was like, at the end of the day, does it matter? Like
Mhm.
the Lakers have been a play-in team the last 2 years, 7 seed
Mhm.
last 2 years, and that's with a LeBron James and an AD. Mostly because LeBron has been the one that hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout the season for the most part. And do we expect
Hold up,
those
when?
types of things to change?
Hold up, don't put
Because
that on LeBron.
he,
LeBron
he got
played
hurt
more
last
games
year
than
and the year
AD.
before.
No, the
AD
year before,
man,
LeBron
AD
played
played
more.
72 games last year, man. Like
AD
I
played
can't
76, LeBron played
76.
72.
But you get hurt,
And
you
the year
having these
before that,
nagging
LeBron
injuries,
played more games than AD.
but you having nagging injuries, it's
Right?
affecting you in the playoffs where like this used to be the point in the season where LeBron rose. He's
Mhm.
older. I don't really expect him to keep doing that. That's why I'm saying, what the hell the roster is looking like? Like, do I believe
That's
a
why they
Rui?
try to get Trey Young, man.
Like, do I think a Rui Hachimura is going to get it? Do I think a D'Lo is going to drink some super serum and finally be a playoff performer
I'm
for
gonna
the
tell you
first
something.
time in his
D'Lo
career?
playing to an
No,
average player, they could be somewhere in the playoffs. If D'Lo played just
they
average
could.
D'Lo,
They
damn.
could. Maybe. And here's my thing. I'm like, why not put a more vested interest in Austin Reeves being maybe your number two guy? Because I think
Hold up, number two, what?
number
As in
two
what?
guy on the team. Like you have to throughout the season, you can't ask AD and LeBron, most namely LeBron, to carry the entire load the whole time. You're going to need other guys to step up throughout, maybe kind of keep you within the top 4, top 5 seeds in the West. Because I do think you need to kind of stay out of the play-in this year,
Top
and
four,
then
top
that's when
five.
you lean on your stars. But like you're gonna have to start expecting some people to start earning their paychecks. Like y'all just not here to be, role guys and just be along for the ride. Some of y'all
Hey,
were paid to
that's
step up.
that's the
Like,
goal of a role player. Be
yeah,
there
but
for the
some
ride.
but some guys like a Rui, like a Austin Reeves, like y'all were paid to take that next step.
Mhm.
And I think Austin of the two really can. I just think he needs a coach that gives him that confidence to do that. Because
I
I
think
felt like
JJ will be that. They say he said he
because I
contacted him.
yeah,
Soon as he got hired, they got on the phone. He said he was going to try to
because I just felt like he deferred
incorporate
a
some
little bit
offensive
at
things.
times. And
He does, and it's kind of easy to do when LeBron's on the team, though. Like
yeah,
when LeBron's on his court, it's easy to be like, "Oh, all right, that's LeBron. Get him the ball."
yeah. But
So
in look, is JJ gonna be that coach that challenges that says, hey, like we actually need to run offense? Like he's
hopefully,
not the first coach to say, hey, you know what? I need to give AD the ball more. Yeah, you do, but guess what? You can't put on a jersey and go out there yourself and make sure he gets the ball. You
but I ain't
can't
gonna lie.
tap into his head. Like you
One
can't tap into his head and
right,
make him not passive in a sense. Like I think AD has to be more adamant about, hey, I need the ball. Like give me the ball. Like,
AD
I don't
is who
care.
he is.
He is who
AD is
he
who
is,
he
but
is. I'm so tired of people saying that. Is AD is who he is.
yeah,
He's not gonna be different. He's what 30 years old. He's not gonna turn into no guy
yeah,
who's like, "Oh, give me the ball, it's mine." Hey, we might see the only hope that we might see back from AD is a more consistent jumper that has just
mhm,
left him after the
yeah,
championship season. I don't know where it went, but he just does not have a consistent jumper no more. Doesn't have a 3-point shot at all.
no,
I don't know what happened after the championship season. Obviously, he got bigger, he bulked up. So
yeah,
that might have crippled his
added to
jump
that.
shot. But JJ, he seems like a guy he seems like I don't want to say arrogant, but hey, he seems
He
like he wants
is.
up as
He
an arrogant.
is. Like that's who he
Yeah,
is.
he seems like an arrogant guy. When you can go on ESPN and call the older players plumbers,
Yeah,
what people on Twitter say, call the older players
yeah,
plumbers,
mhm,
the newer guys are better, things like that. He's very confident in himself, and I think he can or he will challenge LeBron them and AD them to,
mhm,
hey, we have to run some offense in the fourth quarter. He watched
mhm,
from the side. He can see how you guys are losing games, things like that. And he can be like,
mhm,
hey, if we keep running this hunting, draining the offense, holding the ball to 5 seconds left on the shot clock, that's not winning basketball. Hey, and throwing up a prayer shot, a hero shot, that's not gonna win. But once again, another team that's roster in the balance. D'Angelo
mhm,
Russell, a lot of things relies on him if he's gonna pick it up. Because I'm sure if he picks up, he's gonna be involved in trade. They're not gonna wait
yeah,
a whole another year to trade him again because there's 2 years in a row in the playoffs that he's underperformed. He didn't play as worse as he did last year, but he had some
mhm,
stinker games. I think he's had a game
yeah,
where he scored 0
yeah.
this year. And that's for a starting point guard, that's bad. But I got a question for you. Do the
Mhm.
Lakers draft Bronny at 55? Yes or
I think the
no?
team picks him before him.
Okay. Who you got? Just a
Um,
guess. Let me see. I'm gonna name some teams for you in the second round who go to Lakers.
I
Celtics,
agree. I think
Pistons,
they'll Celtics Pistons. No, I don't think
Warriors,
the Pistons.
Pacers, Spurs,
I think the
Magic.
Spurs you should look at.
Okay. All right. Kings, Spurs, Magic, Heat, Hornets.
I can see the Heat. I would say
The Pacers
I
got
think
3
Heat.
picks.
Yeah, but I think the Pacers kind of got their guard rotation kind of
Mhm.
kind of in check.
Grizzlies,
Grizzlies. I would say Spurs, Grizzlies, um,
Toronto,
not Toronto.
Jazz.
Who's the third team? The Celtics. I really think the Celtics might do it just for the culture.
The
Like they
Celtics,
have no
they picked right before the Lakers too.
right, exactly. Like they'll just do it for the culture. They'll just say, you know
Petty,
what,
petty, petty.
we don't want them to have them. Like I was telling my wife, I was like, I said if I was a GM or like an owner,
Mhm.
I just pick them. Like especially like if I'm a team like the New York Knicks or even the San Antonio Spurs, they got 2 first-round picks. I'm just picking them. And if you want them,
Why?
cause I can, cause I can.
So you gonna
And
waste
if
a
you
draft
want them,
somebody you don't want just to be
yeah,
petty
it
to
happens all the
LeBron?
time. It happens all the
You
time in
basically
sports.
no, it doesn't.
It does. It happens all
No.
the time in sports. Sometimes you just draft them because you don't want somebody else to have them, and you just
Yeah,
figure
but
it out later.
it's not you draft a player when that happens, that's a first round draft pick though. It's like, hey, I'm gonna get this guy. He's graded as a first round pick. Bronny not graded as a first round pick. So if you draft him at 20
If I had
and
20,
he's
if I
graded
draft
as
him at
40,
25, like say I'm in New
yeah,
York Knicks, I got
25 is hey,
24,
that's
25.
decent. Hey, 25 is
I
basically
draft
like a
him.
second round pick.
Like I'm being facetious. Like I wouldn't pick him at 8. Like the Spurs got the 4th
Right.
and the 8th pick. But if I
But if
was
you like,
like
hey,
somewhere
come get
between
him. If you want him,
25,
come get him.
yeah. If I was like
If you want him,
25 through 30,
come
I
get
would
him,
get him.
LeBron.
Like I'm gonna get him. Like especially because first of all, let's talk. Bron opted out, so Bron not even a Laker yet. Like
Right.
officially, technically speaking.
Basically, you
So
say if you want to come get him, Brian might be
I'm
like,
get
hey,
him.
I'm coming over there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming side to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
All
So you say
right,
you want to
y'all.
play with him? Let's see if you a man of your word.
You ain't worrying about that right now. I got one more drop for y'all. You did too.
Last May. Are you ready for the draft? We are.
You ready for the draft, bro?
Man, hell yeah, man.
Who
Like,
wins the
I
draft
will say,
tonight?
huh?
Who wins the draft tonight?
I feel like the Grizzlies for some like I just feel like they're one of the better drafting teams. Like they want, like in my opinion, getting GG Jackson in the second round last year was a steal, and they just find a way to just get guys that translate, and I can see them doing that again. I think they're a team that could win. I think the team like a Knicks team could win. You got 2 first round picks. You might not use both of them, so you might end up getting another guy to add that's maybe more on a cheaper contract or more of a veteran player that can kind of help your team win. So I think to look for the contending teams to really have a shot at winning the draft and making some moves, whether that's bringing in a guy that they can, to get veterans that can kind of help them get to that next level.
Okay, got to really get it done. This was our longest episode. We made sure again, y'all. A draft, we get excited. We get to talking trades, extensions, coaching hirings, and hopefully we get some more trades today as the draft, leading up to the draft or during the draft. I'm excited. I'm trying to see out. Hopefully, my guy Brian get another player, bro, so we try to go hunt for another ring. Hopefully, the Spurs go get Trae Young, Lakers get DeJounte, Pelicans get somebody. Everybody find somebody to get.
Yeah,
But this is Bayou Ballers, y'all.
right.
We need y'all to like, comment, and subscribe for us. We're gonna have more draft content as the draft get over for y'all. Any last words from brother?
Man, look, like I said, just keep watching, supporting us. Make sure to follow us on Twitter too, because half the stuff y'all hear on the show, we done talked about on the timeline. So give you a little
in real time.
What we talking about. But man, this is gonna be fun, man. I'm looking forward. I know we're doing another episode this week, most likely a draft recap of some sort of, and maybe talking about who we think won the draft. So there's gonna be some names we know, but I'm always interested in the names I've never heard of before, and then I spend the rest of the night looking up highlights on YouTube. So I'm looking forward
That's
to
what I
those
do with all
players.
my Saints draft picks. I go right after they draft somebody. If I don't know him, who this is? Let me go look at his highlight. Then I get overly excited, like, oh man, that play was fire.
Yeah,
then
and
I
you
realize,
just
oh, this the
blew it out
NFL.
of
He ain't gonna be
proportion,
able to
dog.
do that.
But man, it's gonna be fun for fans of the 30 NBA teams or even some of the players, and want them to get some guys in to help them win. And look, it's not gonna be in the world. It's easy to say, right? You never know. It's either you got the greatest prospect of all time or you got the biggest bust of all time. But at the end of the day, it all evens itself out. So you just gotta have fun.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to a draft in 2 hours, y'all. We're gonna have this uploaded before, but Bayou Ballers Podcast, we out, y'all.